Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to answer one of the most common questions I get from expats in Germany. Should you buy or should you rent? I'll break it down with real numbers, real scenarios, and give you a clear framework to make the right decision for your situation. And make sure to stay until the end, because I'll share the one factor that most people completely ignore when making this decision, and it could change your answer entirely. My name is Hans, and I help expats find, analyze, and buy rental properties here in Germany. I currently own 15 apartments across multiple cities, and through my platform German Realty, I share everything I've learned about building a real estate portfolio here, from financing and taxes to finding the right deal and managing tenants. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Before we get into today's topic, I want to quickly mention my one-year mentorship program. If you're serious about investing in German real estate and want someone to take you by the hand through the entire process, this is for you. Together, we find and analyze properties that fit your goals, go through the buying process step by step, and get your property rented out successfully. It's the most hands-on support I offer, and spots are limited. If that sounds interesting, visit germanrealty.org/services to learn more and apply. Here's what we'll cover today. First, I'll explain the real cost of renting in Germany that most people don't think about. Then we'll look at the real cost of buying, including all the hidden costs up front. After that, I'll walk you through a concrete numbers comparison between renting and buying the same property. Then I'll talk about when renting actually makes more sense. And finally, I'll share that one factor at the end that most people overlook entirely. And now let's get into it. Let's start with renting, because most people think they already know what it costs. You pay your monthly rent, maybe some utilities, and that's it. Simple. But here's what most people don't think about. Every euro you pay in rent is gone forever. You're not building any equity. You're not owning anything, and after 10 years of paying rent, your landlord owns more of their property and you own exactly as much as you did on day one. Nothing. Let's put some numbers to this. Say you're renting a 2-room apartment in a mid-sized German city for 900 euros cold rent per month. Over 10 years, that's 108,000 euros in rent payments. Over 20 years, that even adds up to 216,000 euros. And at the end of it, you have nothing to show for it financially. No asset, no equity, no return. Now, of course, renting gives you flexibility, right? You can move cities for work, you don't have to worry about maintenance, and you're not exposed to property market risks. Those are real advantages, of course, and we'll come back to them. But the financial reality of renting long-term is that it's essentially a guaranteed cost with zero return. There's also another dynamic in Germany that most expats don't realize. Rents have been rising significantly in recent years, especially in cities like Munich, Frankfurt, Hamburg, and even mid-sized cities like Freiburg. If you lock in a mortgage today, your monthly payment stays fixed for 10 years. Your rent, on the other hand, can go up, and in most German cities, it has been going up consistently. Now, let's look at buying. And here I want to be completely honest, because buying in Germany is not cheap upfront. When you buy a property in Germany, you don't just pay the purchase price. You also pay what's called the closing costs, and these are significant. Depending on the state you're buying in, you'll typically pay between 10 and 12% of the purchase price on top of the actual property price. This includes the Grunderwerbsteuer, the property transfer tax, which varies by state between 3.5% and 6.5%. Then there's the notary and land registry fee, which is also around 1.5%. And if a broker is involved, their commission is typically around 3.57%, including VAT. So on a 200,000 euro property, you're looking at roughly 20,000 to 24,000 euros in closing costs that you need to have in cash. That's before you even think about a down payment, right? The good news is that in Germany, banks will often finance 100% of the purchase price, meaning you only need to cover those closing costs yourself. So you don't need a massive down payment, but you do need that 10 to 12% in cash ready to go. Your monthly mortgage payment will depend on the purchase price, the interest rate, and your repayment rate. At current interest rates of roughly 3.5 to let's say 4%, a 200,000 euro loan with a 2% repayment rate gives you a monthly installment of around 900 to 1,000 euro, which is interestingly similar to what many people pay in rent for a comparable property. Let's now compare renting versus buying the same property side by side with real numbers. Imagine a 2-room apartment worth 200,000 euro in a solid German city. If you rent it, you pay around 900 euros per month in cold rent. Over 10 years, that's 108,000 euros paid out with zero equity gained. If you buy it, you pay roughly 20,000 euros upfront in closing costs. Your monthly mortgage payment is around 950 euros per month at current rates with a 2% repayment rate. Over 10 years, you pay roughly 114,000 euros in mortgage payments, slightly more than renting. But here's the difference. Of that 114,000 euros, a significant portion goes toward paying down your loan. After 10 years, you've built up meaningful equity in the property. On top of that, the property has likely increased in value. In most solid German cities, properties have appreciated by 2 to 3% annually on average over the long term. So after 10 years, years, the renter has paid 108,000 euros and owns nothing. The buyer has paid slightly more but now owns an asset worth potentially 240,000 euros or more, with a significantly reduced loan balance. The financial gap between the two scenarios is enormous. And if the buyer decides to rent out the property instead of living in it, the tenant's rent essentially covers the mortgage, making the entire investment largely self-financing. And this brings me to another important point about taxes. The tax benefits are mentioned in other videos such as this one, such as depreciation, mortgage, interest deductions, repair costs, and others. These only apply if the property is rented out. If you buy a property and live in it yourself, you cannot claim these deductions. The German tax system specifically rewards landlords, not owner-occupiers. So if maximizing your tax efficiency is part of your strategy, renting out your property rather than living in it yourself is the key to unlocking those benefits. Now, I want to be balanced here, because buying is not always the right answer, right? There are situations where renting genuinely makes more sense. If you're planning to stay in Germany for less than 3 to 5 years, buying probably doesn't make any financial sense. The upfront closing costs are too high to recover in a short time frame. If you buy and sell within a few years, you'll likely break even at best. And if you don't have that 10 to 12% in closing costs saved up, then renting while you save is the smartest short-term move. Rushing into a purchase without sufficient equity is never a good idea. And if your life situation is uncertain, maybe your job is unstable, or you might relocate, then the flexibility of renting has real value that shouldn't be ignored. But here's the key point. If you plan to stay in Germany long-term, have stable income and can cover the closing costs, buying almost always wins financially over a 10 to 20 year horizon. The numbers simply don't lie. And now the factor I promised at the beginning that most people completely overlook. You don't have to choose between buying a home to live in and renting. Many expats think of this as a binary decision. Either I buy the place I live in or I rent and do nothing. But there's a third option that very few people consider. Rent where you live and buy an investment property somewhere else. And that's actually what I do myself as well. I rent my own apartment because it gives me flexibility in where I live. But I own 15 apartments elsewhere that generate rental income, build equity, and reduce my tax bill every year, because all of those apartments are rented out, which is what makes the tax benefits possible in the first place. If you're not ready to buy in the city you live in, maybe prices are too high or you're not sure how long you'll stay, you can still get into the market by buying a smaller, more affordable investment property in another city. Let a tenant pay the mortgage while you benefit from the equity growth and tax advantages. This approach gives you the best of both worlds, the flexibility of renting where you live and the financial benefits of owning real estate. That's the option most people never even consider. And in my experience, it's often the smartest move for expats in Germany. So to wrap up, renting has its place, but long-term, buying almost always wins financially. The key is making sure your timing, savings, and life situations are right before you jump in. If you want help figuring out whether buying makes sense for your specific financial situation, or if you want to find and analyze your first investment property in Germany, visit germanrealty.org to book a consultation or learn more about my mentorship program. If this video was helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.